Why Oppenheimer is a bad movie. I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan's films. I love long-form movies. I'm deeply interested in science, and I love film. This is a personal review. I'm not trying to be unbiased, just raw and authentic with my feelings towards the movie. Enjoy or hate as you will. Here are my reasons why I think Oppenheimer is a bad movie. Insane amounts of dry exposition. Some of it was creatively weaved in, but the majority felt very pace-breaking and unnatural. This is a common trope in Nolan movies, but this is by far the worst hyperbolic version of it. It completely breaks the characters, pacing, and immersion of the reality he is trying to establish. It felt quite lazy and uncreative a lot of the time. Terrible pacing. Besides the main hooks in the movie, Ludwig and the editing team made some amazing sequences, but for the most part it's largely quite boring. However, the hooks of the movie keep you grounded in your seat long enough not to fall asleep when trying to trench through the shallow characters and exposition avalanche until you come to another hook in the movie which tie you back down in your seat for another avalanche of uncreative exposition. A lot of the dramatization of the characters and perspective felt very pretentious at times. Yes, it is profound to harness the strong force and make a film about it, but there is a subtle self-importance to the film. It's the feeling of an artist knowing they create profound art, and the self-awareness seeps into the art, and you can feel it. It's hard to explain, but I feel it's tangible in this film. I do enjoy that it teaches newer generations about history and the dangers of humanity with such technology. But it felt self-indulgent at times, and it's hard to explain. For that I apologize. I wish I was better with my words. I'm sure someone out there feels what I feel. CGI dust on the screen completely ruining the continuity of the film and image. This is obviously something only some people will notice, but it's just absolutely wild that post-production thought it was a good idea to have floating particles cover up the beautiful scape of Los Alamos. Cheap, uncreative, and unnecessary CGI atmosphere. Usually these visual effects can blend quite well in majority CGI films, but something so grounded with such high dynamic range, shot on film with this ridiculous atmospheric effect added just breaks the aesthetic of film entirely. Florence Pugh's character was very shallow and was used uncreatively as a narrative tool. Yes, we're used to this with many Nolan films, shallow characters used to drive the main character's motivations in an obvious way. You can use your characters more creatively and mask the plot tools that they truly are. Have them feel more authentic as characters and not just shallow storytelling tools. Jack Quaid's cameo was an awkward choice of casting. He says a few lines and plays bongos in the background of a few scenes, and whenever I saw him on screen, it felt so wrong. Maybe there was potential to have him fit in another way, but there's something about his acting and presence that is super unconvincing and unfitting. This is likely just a bias that I cannot explain due to association of him in outside media, but there's something tangibly wrong with him being in this film. LMAO, extra points from other people. Don't forget the part where they woke it up by inserting black scientists on the Manhattan Project and black female students in his 1930s quantum physics classes. Disrespecting Einstein and John von Neumann's involvement, they dropped 2 nukes on Japan. Inconceivable amounts of Japanese died. Considering it's a perspective on the trauma only Oppenheimer felt, and not to mention the way they disrespect Einstein and leave out any involvement from John von Neumann on the Manhattan Project. The overdramatization, implying Oppenheimer is the most important man in the world and the only one that could have discovered how to harness the strong force. The last act of the movie being all about Oppenheimer's security clearance and how we should feel for him morally. For the egotistical scientist that quotes, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Overall, I think Oppenheimer is effective in the hooks and even innovative with its stylistic mechanics in filmmaking, but a terrible movie in between. The movie is boring for the most part, and the exposition is lazy and uncreative. The main summary of why it's bad: lazy plot devising of characters, exposition overload, and bad pacing.